Okay, just imagine for a second. You're trying to find your way across, I don't know, a huge desert or maybe the ocean, or you just need to know the time accurately. 1,000 years ago. Forget GPS, forget your phone, digital clocks, none of that exists. How on earth did people measure, like, the distance to a star? Or figure out how tall a mountain was? It sounds, well, almost impossible, doesn't it? Today, we're doing a deep dive into someone pretty incredible who helped make all that possible. A, uh, a brilliant Muslim woman from the 10th century. Her name was Maryam al-Astrulabi. You might also see her name as Maryam al-Ijliya or Maryam al-Ijliya.
Right, and it's kind of amazing, actually. Her work was foundational, really foundational, for centuries of navigation and timekeeping. I mean, think about that, guiding ships, setting prayer times for ages. And yet her name, well, it's often missing from the big picture, isn't it? She was a real pioneer with the astrolabe, this complex scientific device that was just crucial. It really makes you think about whose stories get told, especially women innovators.
Exactly. And that's what we want to unpack today. Who was this remarkable woman? What exactly is an astrolabe? And, how did she revolutionize it? Why does her story still matter so much now? So, first things first. To really get Miriam's genius, we need a handle on this device. What was an astrolabe?
Okay, so basically it's an ancient instrument. It goes way back, actually, even to the ancient Greeks. And its main job was figuring out the time and observing the positions of stars and planets. Picture this. You've got a metal disc, usually brass. Okay. And around the edge, it's marked off in degrees, like a protractor.
Okay.
Then there's a pointer. It pivots right in the middle. That's called the alidade. You use that to sight things, like a star. And it has layers. There's the main body, the mater. Then on top sits this intricate sort of lace-like plate called the rete. That's the star map. And it rotates.
A rotating star map.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And underneath that, you'd have different plates you could swap out depending on your latitude, where you were in the world. So essentially, it flattens the whole 3D sky onto a 2D disk you can hold in your hand.
Wow. Okay, that sounds incredibly complex already. But Miriam's story, her background, that's where it gets really interesting, isn't it?
It really is. She was born in Syria. We're talking 10th century. And her father was an astrolabe maker, al-Astrulabiya.
So it was in the family.
Exactly. And he was apprenticed to a really famous maker, Nasilus Mu'mabad ibn Abdullah Nasilus. We actually have an astrolabe made by Nasilus, one of the oldest ones that survived, dated around 927, 928.
Incredible.
So, yeah, Maryam literally grew up watching her dad work, learning the craft, the really precise techniques involved, and eventually she mastered them herself.
That's fascinating. So she learned by doing, essentially, through observation and practice.
Pretty much. And what's really striking is her skill level. We don't have evidence she had like formal mathematical training in a school setting, which, well, that wasn't common for women everywhere back then. But despite that, she clearly mastered complex astronomical calculations. She understood spatial geometry, even the metalworking side of things.
So she wasn't just making them, she was improving them.
Yes, precisely. She took the existing designs and refined them, made them more accurate, more sophisticated. She pushed the boundaries of the technology of her time.
Okay, so she's making these incredibly detailed devices. What could people actually do with Miriam's astrolabes?
Oh, all sorts of things. They were like the Swiss Army knife of medieval astronomy. You could calculate the position of the sun, the moon, planets, stars, relative to the horizon or the meridian.
So navigation, telling time.
Definitely. You could tell the time, day or night, figure out the time of year, measure the altitude, the height of any celestial object, and crucially determine your latitude, how far north or south you were.
People called it the laptop of the medieval world, right?
That's a great description.
Yeah.
A portable computational device.
And the applications were critical. You mentioned prayer times earlier.
Absolutely vital. For Muslims, knowing the precise times for prayer and the direction of Mecca, the Qibla, was and is fundamental. Astronomy wasn't just, an academic curiosity. It was a religious necessity. Miriam's astrolabes provided that accuracy. They could also help determine the start of Ramadan, of Eid, festivals tied to the lunar calendar and the sun's position. So faith and science were deeply intertwined.
And beyond the religious aspect.
Well, think about travel and trade. Her innovations helped manage transport routes. If you're guiding a ship across a sea or a caravan across a desert, accuracy isn't just nice to have, it's
life or death.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Survival depended on knowing where you were and where you were going. Her work directly contributed to better navigation and timekeeping overall.
Now, you also touched on them being political tools. How did that work? How does an astrolabe give a ruler power?
Well, think about it. If you're a ruler, like Saif and Allah, who eventually employed Maryam, being able to standardize time across your realm, especially for something as important as prayer, that's a form of control, of unity.
Right, everyone on the same page, literally.
Precisely. And controlling navigation means controlling trade routes, military movements, accurate maps, accurate positioning that gives you a huge strategic and economic edge. So scientific instruments weren't just for scholars, they were tools of statecraft. Commissioning the best ones showed your power and sophistication.
Which brings us back to Saif al-Dawla. Her reputation reached him.
It did. He was the founder of the Emirate of Aleppo, ruled mid-10th century. And he was known as a patron of arts and sciences. His court was apparently quite the hub for thinkers, like the philosopher al-Farabi was there.
So he heard about Maryam and her incredible astrolabes.
And he employed her. She worked in his royal court in Aleppo, became known across the region for making the most intricate, the most accurate astrolabes around.
That's actually huge, isn't it? A woman, scientist, craftsman, employed in a royal court in the 10th century.
It's incredibly significant. It really challenges this sort of standard narrative you sometimes hear about women's roles back then, especially compared to Europe at the same time.
Right. In Europe, women were largely shut out of universities, facing massive barriers.
Exactly. But here in Aleppo, you have a woman being sought out, commissioned, employed by a ruler for her scientific and technical expertise. It points to a different environment, maybe more progressive in certain ways, regarding science in the Islamic world during that golden age.
It really does make you adjust your perspective on what innovation and opportunity looked like then. It wasn't monolithic.
Not at all. Their apps were made of brass, maybe, but the impact was just as revolutionary.
And Maryam wasn't working in a vacuum, right? She was part of this bigger scientific flourishing.
Oh, absolutely. The Islamic Golden Age, generally dated from around the 8th to the 15th centuries, saw incredible advances. Muslim scholars made huge contributions in medicine, math, physics, chemistry, and definitely astronomy. They weren't just preserving ancient Greek knowledge like Ptolemy's system. They were actively building on it, refining it, correcting it through observation, and developing much better instruments, like the astrolabe.
They were really pushing the frontiers of knowledge.
They were. Developing algebra, improving astronomical models, laying groundwork that later European scientists would build on.
But here's the kind of tragic part, isn't it? Despite all this, her huge impact, she almost vanished from history.
It's true, and it's quite telling. Unlike a lot of her male contemporaries, she didn't leave behind books or detailed writings about her work, at least none that we've found. Our knowledge of her comes mainly from, well, fragments, mentions in later texts, like a biographical dictionary called The Firist by al-Nadim.
Just footnotes, almost.
Yeah, it feels like that sometimes. And it really highlights a recurring pattern in history, doesn't it? How women's contributions, even essential ones, often got minimized, overlooked, or just weren't recorded at the same detail.
So how do we fight against that erasure? How does someone like Maryam get rediscovered?
It takes dedicated work. Historians digging through archives, piecing together mentions, cross-referencing sources, and then importantly, people need to talk about it to bring these stories back into the light through research, books, even podcasts like this.
Challenging the old stories and looking for the gaps.
Exactly. And thankfully, her legacy has endured, and it's being recognized more now.
Like the asteroid, that's amazing.
Isn't it? Yeah, in 1990, an astronomer, Henry E. Holt, discovered an asteroid and named it 7060 al-Astrulabiya in her honor. Sometimes you see the number as 7069. There seems to be a slight discrepancy in records, but the naming is confirmed. A literal place in the heavens named after her.
That's poetic justice, really.
It is. And it's not just astronomy. She's inspired modern creators, too.
You mean the book, Binti?
Right. The science fiction writer Nedi Okorafor learned about Maryam, actually at a book festival in the UAE, and Maryam became the direct inspiration for the main character in her novella, The Binti, which won awards.
Wow.
Yeah, and initiatives like the Lazim 1 Inventions have highlighted her as an extraordinary woman from the Islamic Golden Age. She's even been mentioned in academic settings like Cambridge University. So the recognition is growing.
That's fantastic. She really serves as such a powerful symbol, doesn't she? For women and girls in science, technology, innovation everywhere.
Absolutely. Her story proves that female ingenuity has always been there, even if history hasn't always recorded it fairly. It shows the past was maybe more complex, more open in some ways than we sometimes assume.
So wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway for us today from Maryam's story?
I think it's a powerful reminder that genius, that groundbreaking innovation, it doesn't belong to one gender or one era or one part of the world. It's universal.
In her work, specifically with the astrolabe, it's not just some historical curiosity. There are threads connecting it directly to the navigation tech we use constantly now.
Definitely. She was mapping the cosmos at a time when, perhaps, societal expectations might have tried to keep women focused solely on the domestic sphere. She literally reached for the stars. Her story forces us to ask, whose history do we usually learn and who gets left out? Why?
It's a crucial question, and maybe a final thought for you, our listener, to ponder. How many other Maryams might be out there? How many other innovators, especially women, are still hidden in the margins of history, just waiting for their stories to be told? And what could learning their stories teach us about the real, diverse, global story of human progress?